So we're back with Paul Curcio, and we're really enjoying recording some history of Belfast. We're going to ask you about the camps. But before we do that, Paul, everyone always thinks Belfast, the town of Belfast, the name came from Ireland, but it didn't, did it? Can you tell where Belfast came from?
It came from Belfast, Maine, because of the Justice of the Peace that, they had, it was Orangeburg, and nobody liked that name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they changed it, and the first one that had the store here, his name was Butts, and so they'd post different names on the bridge down there, on the river bridge, and one of them was Buttsville. and so I think, they didn't like it. Then they brought up another name. One of them was a Huddle. Terrible
The
name.
Huddle?
Yeah. And one of them was Antioch.
Really?
Yeah. And, they post these names all the time about what they were going to name different groups.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of political. Because the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah.
Let's see, what other names? Gougeville.
Really?
Gougeville.
With a G.
Yeah. That was more up White Creek way. And, where they came up, and then, of course, this McKeon, I think his name was, he suggested Belfast, and they didn't really like that either. Nobody ever liked anything here.
Was there a connection between him? Was he or something like the mayor of Maine and moved down here or something? I've heard that wives' tale.
Maine. I don't know what his position was.
So he brought the name with him then.
Yeah. He thought, that was a good name. And of course, there was a lot of, supposedly, a lot of trouble still with the Irish, the English, and I don't know, the Irish, the Protestants, and the Irish Catholics. And so there was a lot of fracases between the, even here, even back in those days. And so,
we settled on Belfast. What do you remember around what year it was officially named Belfast?
Yeah, I think 1823.
Yeah. 18.
There's some 1823 or 24 in 1825.
So a couple hundred years then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to have our sesquicentennial.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's. I think in 2024.
Yep. I know your son Joe wants to help push that a little bit and bring some more attention, here.
Yeah, and of course, there's something I want to write about too that goes way back.
Yeah.
Do you want to change the subject?
Sure. Go ahead.
Well, back, I've got to research it more. I've tried to find out where he lived. I think he lived near Transit Bridge, but his name was Bill Bennett, and he was more or less the Daniel Boone of this area. And they said that he was a great hunter. And back then, if you can believe it, they used to pay like $20 bounty on wolves.
Wow.
And they said Bill Bennett used to go and shoot wolves, and he'd get that money, and they accused him of getting the she-wolves and raising the litters from the she-wolves until they were big enough. They had to turn in an ear or something to get a bounty. And he raised the little ones up to where, and then they'd kill them and take the ear in to get money.
Or just cut one ear off at a time.
I don't know how that worked. But that was
That's
funny.
interesting. Now, where did he live again?
I think around I haven't been able to find exactly, but they said he was such a skilled hunter. He used to be able to run a deer down. He'd run the deer until they dropped. He chased him through Angelica, one of them, and when the deer dropped, he had the deer.
Sure. Wow.
Wow.
Well, $20 back then.
That's a lot of money.
It was a month's pay or more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now, Judy wanted you to talk a little bit about the camps that were up here around your house and why they were here, and if there's any stories you've got about that.
Yeah, of course, this where we are. When the Erie Railroad, it came in about the same time, and of course they had a siding up here for the camp cars You know, they're a train where the men would come and stay and work on the bridge for maintenance and stuff. And my uncle worked on there, my Uncle Sam. And he said they called this place Camp Lonesome. Because, their path is still there where they used to walk up from town and go there, and they had a motor car and they had a tool shed and a bunch of stuff.
And they were basically here to build the railroad.
Well, no, they were here for maintenance afterwards.
Oh, okay.
You know, so this is after, you know, in the, around the 40s, 50s. I don't remember. I remember the building up there that was along the railroad, but I don't remember.
Are there any pictures on that photo of it?
No,
Okay.
no, it's back up this way.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. 'Cause we-
Any other stories you know about the camps?
Just that this is when my dad, he worked on the Erie for a while to make money to go to school, and he said they got up right behind my house there, and they were clear, you know, they take the motor car and go up and do whatever they did on the section, this section, and they got up behind here, and all of a sudden out of nowhere came a train, and there wasn't supposed to be any trains on the track. So it just snuck up on them, and he said they all dove off the motor car, and he said it knocked it way down to the bridge. Now, that's a long way.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
Lord.
the tools went flying all over. One guy broke his leg in the jump. Oh, there goes Elvin. Oh. And so shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, that's all right.
But anyhow, you know, he said that you know, the communications wasn't good on the railroad, and
How many railroads went through up here? Would you say 3 of them?
4.
4. What? Do you remember their names?
Yeah, the Erie's up behind my house. The B&S is alongside my house, and the Pensy was down below that. And then the Cannonball was a spur of the Shawmut, and I don't know how it connected. It connected down near the Gleason Hill Road. My uncle was always talking about the what do you call it? The junction. He said, "Well, we're going down to the junction today." Junction? What's that? I guess where the railroads crossed each other.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember that.
Any of them still active today, Paul?
None of them.
None of them.
No.
And the Erie Canal has been out,
Genesee Valley.
or Genesee Valley has been out how long?
Since, I think, 1889.
18. But the towpath is still there, which is pretty cool. I like seeing that. You can envision them pulling the barges down that way.
What I found the history in one of the writings of the number of donkeys, or mules, not donkeys, donkeys and horses for the canal boats numbered 24,000.
Oh my gosh.
That seems.
Wow.
And somebody told me when we were down to the warehouse, somebody that, you know, with the Canal Association that used to come here, and he said that there was one, I don't know whether it was one guy or one group, all they did was go and dispose of the animals that died, like they dropped dead probably from exertion,
yeah.
the mules and the, you know, because they really, if the canal boats were overloaded, then they really dragged hard, you know, because, and it was a lot of, and of course there was all kinds of accidents and all kinds of.
I was amazed how, of course it's growing over now, but really how narrow it was. But it would have to be for that, to be able to move that much water through it.
Yeah, there's I've got the dimensions somewhere of the canal, what it was supposed to be. It wasn't so deep, and it could, I have to look up the tonnage. Was amazing that they could put on one of those boats.
Wow.
It just,
Now you showed me, Paul, when we were in there, the down below, that room that's like down below everything.
Yeah.
Do you think that might have been something to do with Underground Railroad too?
I would, you know, I'd like to look and find if there's any evidence, you know, because there's no reason there'd be a stair in the floor of that.
Yeah.
You know, stairways.
Be easy transport, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because that was the right time and the right, you know, it was before the Civil War and during the Civil War and after the Civil War.
On the same topic, are there any other places that you think may have been in Belfast stops on the Underground Railroad?
Well, of course, the Massasoit House was one.
That's on the corner down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and of course, in Ormo there's supposed to be another one,
Yeah.
and so
Underneath the John L. Sullivan barns, we found a hollow out down underneath that when we moved them, and had a lot of bottles and things like that in there. And we wondered because that was close to the Genesee River too.
Yeah.
And in Ormo there was one. Is that what you just said? Did you say that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's an interesting part of our history. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's just so many things that nobody knows. My grandfather, when he first came, he lived in a boxcar.
Now he came from Italy?
Yeah, he came from southern Italy.
What was his name?
Joseph Curcio.
Mm-hmm.
And we always wondered. Dad said they used to call him Joe Fair, and Dynamite Joe, because he was in the Italian cavalry before he came here, and all of his relatives had always been in the army, in the military, and they were always, some of his uncles were wounded, crippled, and all that, and he didn't want that kind of a life. So when he got a chance, he came to, he went all over the country, all over the East Coast, into Canada looking for work. He finally ended up in Belfast because that's where the work was at that time. And so, so he worked here a couple of years. He came in 1903, and we found his name in Ellis Island when we went there.
Oh, wow.
And my grandmother,
Judy's grandmother's name is there
Yeah,
also.
my grandparents came there too. Yep.
Yeah.
and so, so, he said he lived in a boxcar.
Why did they call him those names? Why did they call him Dynamite?
Dad never knew. I guess he had exposed. I don't know about that part. But my aunts are the one that told me that.
Yeah.
Because, my dad had 9 sisters.
Oh my.
And and one brother.
Yeah.
And so.
Probably none of them are living now.
No.
No,
The
yeah.
last one just died. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe, my dad said he never knew why they meant Joe Fair because they didn't know how it was spelled. Whether he was fair or fair skin.
Oh, gee. Yeah, sure.
He wasn't, he had, I guess at one time a red mustache, and even Dad, when he used to go and visit the cousins in Boston and Philadelphia, that's where most of them went. And he went to one of the tenements where all the Italians lived, and they yelled at one of his cousins that brought him there. They said, "Hey, what'd you bring that Irishman along with you?"
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Paul, that's about 13 minutes. So the next segment I want to shoot is I want to find out, and I'm a little biased on this one, I want to find out everything you know about John L. Sullivan and what we have done with the Hall of Fame. So on the next video, we'll do that.
Okay.